Welcome to the Global City Teams Challenge Expo. You're in for quite a treat today with the presentations on stage, the exhibits just behind me. So I think you'll find this a very exciting opportunity. But to get started and welcome you today, I'd like to introduce Dr. Willie May. Dr. May is Undersecretary of Commerce for Standards and Technology, and also Director of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. Dr. May, welcome to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. I would make a joke and say, sir, it's very early and I'm normally in bed, but there are too many stereotypes about government workers, so I won't say that. Thank you, Chris, and good morning, everyone. And welcome to our day-long celebration of smart cities and the Internet of Things. First, I need to give a big shout out to Chris and Sokwoo Rhee from NIST, and from Glenn Ricart and his staff from US Ignite, who are responsible for putting today's events together. Like everyone here, I'm excited and looking forward to discovering some of the new ways innovation will improve all of our lives. And I'm certainly in the right company to do that today, because many of you here are city officials and technology innovators. And it's in your communities that real-world advances will take place. As you've already heard, I direct the government agency that is co-sponsoring this event, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. US Ignite, who, in addition to helping to organize this event, hosted the Global City Challenge website that hopefully all of you took advantage of to get information about this event. And they also are webcasting all of the talks and presentations that will be given today. US Ignite is a nonprofit organization specializing and public-private partnerships that accelerate IT technology solutions. And what they are all about is totally congruent with the mission of my agency. For more than a century, we were established in 1901, NIST has been closely involved with new technological developments on the ground floor, often before they become well known to the broader public. The Internet of Things is not an exception. As I said, we were founded in 1901, then we were called the National Bureau of Standards. But then and now, we have a unique mission among federal science and technology agencies. Our mission is to promote US innovation and industrial competitiveness through advanced measurements, standards, and technology. Now that's a very, very broad mission. It means that we have experts in an extremely diverse number of fields. But they are all laser focused on helping industry and society get the biggest economic impact from the latest scientific and technical advances. Since our inception, we recognize that while the development and maintenance of the national standards is why we were established, we recognize that standards work must keep abreast with the expansion of the frontiers of science. And in that regard, I'm very proudly share with you that research conducted at NIST on our two campuses, the one in Gaithersburg and the one in Boulder, Colorado, has garnered 5 Nobel Prizes since 1997, as well as a Kyoto Prize. And the Kyoto Prize is the Nobel Prize equivalent in the area of material science. Again, that's very unusual for a government agency. As we will see from the projects on display today, the Internet of Things combines many types of devices and technologies that absolutely must work together seamlessly. To make that happen, standards are and will continue to be very crucial. To pursue our mission, NIST works with an array of interested parties, industry leaders, academic researchers, representatives from government agencies and trade organizations, to name a few, to make sure that those standards are broadly acceptable as well as effective. You will see examples, hopefully, of this when you visit the exhibits today. Our 3,000 federal employees include 1,800 scientists and engineers who have a variety of specialties, but they all work to ensure that the United States standards are based on fundamental science. This fundamental science work often pays off in very spectacular ways. The Global Positioning System, a GPS, that we all use in our cars, in our cell phones, is made possible by highly accurate timing measurements. Those measurements are all based on the atomic clocks, whose concept NIST helped to invent back in the 1950s. Today, an atomic clock that we call NIST F2, that's maintained on our Boulder campus, is accurate to 1 second in 300 million years. It's the most accurate time standard in the world, and it's used to timestamp billions of dollars of financial transactions that take place throughout the world each day. Our latest strontium lattice clock has a tick rate accuracy of 1 second in 15 billion years. Additionally, we work with other national measurement institutes from around the world to compare our national standards with theirs, but also to link our global measurement system to the fundamental constants of nature. This ensures that a liter of gasoline, or a gallon as we say here in the US, or a watt of electricity, or a kilogram of rice are all the same everywhere that such standards are employed. Which brings me back to why we are all here today. NIST is not just industry's national laboratory, as some of them call us, but we are an ally to a level playing field in the marketplace, one that we hope will enable many new uses of the Internet of Things. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to learning, along with all of you, about the amazing advances that the global city teams will display and illustrate to us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. May, for that inspiration. I'm Chris Greer. I'm NIST Senior Executive for Cyber Physical Systems, and my office has been responsible for the Smart Cities effort in putting this event together. So I want to thank a few people who have just done exceptional work in making this possible. First, from Energetics, Joan Pellegrino and Janice Tabor. From the Netherlands Embassy, Jan Pielen has just been a terrific contact for us. And US Ignite, our partner in launching this event and carrying the challenge forward, Glenn Ricart and Joe Cochin, and also, of course, for the National Building Museum, Chase Rind, who is the director. As I said earlier, you're in for a real treat today, and be sure to visit all of the booths because the teams want to tell you exactly what they're doing. And you'll see some amazing things that are the products really of three kinds of concepts. The first is these teams have been working in genuine partnerships. And you'll see that we have city partners of all sizes, from urban megacenters like New York City, San Francisco, Chicago, and others, to small towns like Ammon, Idaho, Montgomery County, Maryland, and so on. You'll find companies participating in all sectors, communications, hardware, software, services, a wide range, and universities with their researchers and students who are involved. And you'll enjoy talking to the students. They're especially creative and from those universities across the country. The second factor is some amazing innovation that's going on out there. You'll see some remarkable creativity from citywide platforms that serve to provide health services for senior citizens, first responder services, citizen access to government, the full range of smart city capabilities. And then finally, I think you'll find a remarkable range of cities with a vision for the future that incorporates advanced technologies to make their communities safer, more secure, more livable, and more workable through those technologies. And so let me read you a partial list of the cities that are represented. Gary David, the mayor from City of Elk Grove. Steve Adler, the mayor of Austin, Texas. Michael Pantelides, mayor of Annapolis, Maryland. Ridwan Kamil, mayor of Bandung, Indonesia. Brian Kenner, the deputy mayor of Washington, D.C. Yvonne van Mierlo, deputy mayor of Helmond in the Netherlands. Pat Quinn, former governor of Illinois. Elizabeth Post, vice governor, Noord-Holland of Netherlands. Pablo Jose Vasquez Muñiz from La Coruña, Spain. Tegen Baharu, the Chief Technology Officer of Washington, D.C. Michael Miller, Chief Technology Officer of Seattle. Scott Kubley, Director of Transportation from Seattle. Josh Breckbuell, Chief Technology Officer, City of Newark, Delaware. Carol Hauk, City Manager from Newark, Delaware. Mark Ott, the City Manager from Austin, Texas. Carla Brewster, a council member from City of Flagstaff, Arizona. Fred Payne, a council member from Greenville, South Carolina. Other cities represented today include Salzburg, Austria, Tel Aviv, Israel, Izmit, Turkey, Lviv, the Ukraine, and Guatemala City, Guatemala. And that's only a partial list of the cities that are participating. And so this is a demonstration of the value of a partnership between government, between industry, academia, and the leaders of cities around the world. And you'll see today what's possible when you get that kind of partnership going. And that's what the Global City Teams Challenge is about. So now what I'd like to do is introduce the energy behind the Global City Teams Challenge. Dr. Sokwoo Rhee, who is Associate Director for Cyber Physical Systems at NIST. Dr. Rhee.
Good morning, everyone. Finally, we are here today. We've been waiting for this for a year almost, so I'm so glad to see so many faces over here. So, I have only 4 or 5 minutes, so I'm going to go quickly, basically introduce what the Global City Teams Challenge is and what you will see today. So let me talk about smart cities a little bit. How do you define it? Smart cities use advanced technologies like IoT or CPS to improve the quality of life. It's pretty broad, but that's what it is, the smart cities for. So what is the challenge that we're trying to address with this whole process? A lot of the smart city deployments are fragmented, isolated, and a lot of them are one-off projects. So what we are trying to do is establish replicable and scalable and sustainable interoperable smart city solution deployment strategy and technologies. So that's what this all the challenge is about. So how do we do this? This is how we do it. So instead of each city addressing the issues one by one, instead of each technology provider addressing the issues one by one, why don't we put everyone together, multiple cities, multiple technology providers, and address specific issues together and share the result? If a city already has a great solution, which already has success, why don't we replicate that success to other cities instead of reinventing the wheel over and over again? So as you can see, we have cities from US, we have cities from Europe, we have cities from Asia, we have technology providers all over the world, universities and corporations from startups and multi-billion the corporations of the world, are all working together to make this happen. So this is a list of the partners we have. I mean, we have a lot of partners, but these partners, we started this whole process together. US Ignite and National Science Foundation, which has been extremely supportive in the whole process to the level that they actually create a funding program to support the university teams participating in this Global City Teams Challenge program. International Trade Administration, which is part of the Department of Commerce, which has more than 60, 70 offices in the world that helps us to contact the cities who are interested in participating. And also Department of Transportation, you're going to see more about that in a couple of hours. HHS and DOE, and also private corporations, the private corporation partners that we have. Right now, more than 200 corporations and organizations are participating in Global City Teams Challenge. So, what are you going to see today? All day, exhibition from 65 teams, 65 teams, representing more than 50 cities around the world. You're going to see the exciting presentations and exhibitions today. You're going to see in probably 10 minutes from now, you're going to see morning plenary session from Jim Kurose from NSF, and also Peter Molengraaf, CEO of Alliander. At 11 o'clock, this is kind of change of agenda a little bit at the last moment. At 11 o'clock, Secretary Tony Fox from Department of Transportation, we're going to come to this stage, and he will give a keynote speech. At 11:50, again, on this stage, Tom Khalil, Deputy Director of Office Science and Technology Policy at the White House, we're going to come and give a keynote. At 12:05, Willie May, which gave us the opening remarks, will give his keynote at 12:05 p.m. here at this stage. And special session with the King and Queen of Netherlands starts at 12:40 at the West Coast. So we are jam-packed with so many exciting items today, and please enjoy, and thanks for coming, and let's start. We'll have a full day of excitement. Thank you very much. Now, we are very fortunate to have a great partners that you've seen, and especially US Ignite, which has been with us from day one of this challenge. I really want to send my gratitude and my thanks to US Ignite. And let me introduce Dr. Glenn Ricart, who is the founder and CTO of US Ignite.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Are we not in a beautiful court here? This is the National Building Museum, and at the time that it was constructed, it was the largest open space in Washington, D.C. The very first event to be held here was the inaugural ball for Grover Cleveland in 1885. And 130 years later, the most recent event to be held in the National Building Museum Great Court is the Global City Team Challenge 2015. Yes! We live on a beautiful planet. We live on a fragile planet. We are all inhabitants of this planet. Many of us live in cities on this planet. And so it's very appropriate that we have a global, across the globe, across continents, team challenge to take a look at the resources for which we are stewards on this planet. It's very appropriate that we work together to conserve its natural resources, to help make our citizens better stewards of those resources, because we are approaching the carrying capacity. One of the tools that we have is to become smarter in the way we use these resources, smarter in the way that our people are educated, smarter in the way that we can prolong life through health care, smarter in the ways that we can help people to make better choices. We must be smarter. We help our citizens to be smarter. And that means that we need our cities to be smarter. Why cities? Cities are about the right size and scale. Cities have the ability to take local action. Cities have the ability to take leadership and make things happen that other organizations sometimes can't do. It's really very important for our cities to act together. And we have organizations, as you heard Dr. Greer talk about, in our cities that can work together. We can bring together civic activism, the knowledge of our universities and institutions of higher education. We can bring together that with the foundations and corporate citizens. And this exhibit, this particular event, shows you what can happen when these organizations and others do work together in our cities. It's really fairly magic. Why now? We have the new technologies, very small things, very smart things. Almost everyone here has a device in their pocket that would have been a supercomputer a few years ago. We have almost ubiquitous arrays of sensors. We have the internet available everywhere. It's really a situation where we can now use these technologies in very great ways. Shouldn't a city and its services be at least as smart as the phone in your pocket? Well, you're going to see examples today, many examples of how that happens. I took a look at the 60-plus exhibits that we've got out here and you're going to be hearing about on stage, and I categorized them according to what they help with. You can see that we have a very rich array of services that are being affected and that you'll be able to hear and see about. And it's going to have significant impact on city resiliency and management, better knowledge, better choices, reducing resource impact, and of course what we all look forward to, improving the quality of life. So welcome to the future. Welcome to this glimpse of what's happening and what's going on in some of the most advanced cities, the most advanced universities, the most advanced corporations in the world. Welcome to the Global City Team Challenge.
So our next speaker is Dr. Jim Kurose, Assistant Director of the National Science Foundation for the Computer and Information Science and Engineering. So let me introduce Dr. Jim Kurose.
Thank you all very much, and good morning. On behalf of my colleagues at the National Science Foundation, I'm very pleased to join you here today at this Global City Teams Challenge. And listening to the earlier speakers, the breadth of people who are here is really amazing. To see scientists, to see developers, to see technology folks, to see political leaders from around the world all together in this one event is really pretty amazing. I do want to start by taking the opportunity to thank NIST and to thank US Ignite, and particularly Chris Greer and Sokwoo, Rhee at NIST, and Glenn Ricart for US Ignite for catalyzing this community, for bringing us together around this challenge, and for their leadership of this event. It's really only because of this kind of creativity. I mean, this is a really pretty out-of-the-box type of event here, thinking about all the people who are here. It's that kind of creativity in government, in nonprofits, that make this a really special event and a very special activity. I also want to thank the team members here for their research and experimentation, and for your community building. Without your efforts, really, we wouldn't be here in the first place. So Glenn just mentioned why we need smart cities and smart regions. As you folks know, nearly 3.9 billion people around the world today live in urban areas, and by 2050, the urban population is going to constitute approximately 2/3 of the world's population. This rapid growth in urban density has really caused government, policy experts, corporate leaders, academic researchers, really the group of people that we see assembled here today, to start focusing our attention on urban science with the goal of intelligently and effectively designing, adapting, and managing our cities and the broader regions around them to maximize their positive potential. And a key part of achieving this goal is going to be making them smart, to embed computing systems within the physical devices, the data sources, the critical infrastructure, and most importantly, serving and working with people in this environment to make our cities and regions smarter. So I just want to say two quick things about a couple of the technology and research areas that are underlying smart cities. Cyber-physical systems that Chris and Sokwoo just talked about, and also advanced networking, which Glenn has touched on. The smart systems of today, and what we're envisioning and seeing a preview over there, and what we'll hear on talks here about, have been enabled in part by NSF's long-standing investments and leadership in fundamental research in computer and information science and engineering. As was mentioned, since 2008, NSF has worked very hard to galvanize a community around this idea of cyber-physical systems that's focused really on conducting the fundamental research in this area. Research advances in cyber-physical systems have provided the building blocks, I think we can say, for putting the smart in transportation, energy, and many other infrastructure systems. And now, as we start thinking about these technology areas coming together in the context of a city and a region environment, for putting the smarts now, not just in these individual areas, but putting the smarts in cities and in regions. As was mentioned, at the National Science Foundation, we've invested nearly $250 million to support researchers across the country in cyber-physical systems research over the last 7 years. And really, our CPS program is just one of the many foundational programs across the United States that are really laying the foundation through their research for cyber-physical systems and the kind of systems that will be built on top of that. I also want to note that it's not just the National Science Foundation, but that many agencies within government are collaborating with the National Science Foundation and partnering with us: the Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Department of Transportation, the National Institutes of Health, and NASA. And these are supporting efforts in specific technology sectors such as security, transportation, and healthcare. I also want to note the foundation that's been laid in the area of advanced networking, because certainly we all realize if we're going to have smart cities, these are going to be powered and built upon secure, programmable, and advanced networks. NSF has been pushing forward the frontiers of networking since the pre-internet days, going back to NSFNet. So many of you here are too young to probably remember NSFNet, but I'll give a shout out to Glenn Ricart, who you just heard from, who installed and operated some of the earliest routers in NSFNet, I guess we'll just say many decades ago. And since then, NSF's investment in novel hardware and software platforms, together with new networking technologies, architectures, protocols, and maybe even most importantly, applications have enhanced the speed, security, management, and programmability of the internet and internet applications. And with the launch of US Ignite that you've heard a bit about, NSF has helped catalyze this new next generation of applications that are giving us the idea of the kinds of applications that we can see in smart cities. And so through US Ignite, a number of researchers have been addressing research in the application sectors like those that we'll be seeing here today: disaster and emergency response, energy and utilities, transportation, and more. So let me conclude simply by saying that we at NSF are incredibly proud and very pleased that many of the teams here today that you'll hear about here, you'll see their demos over there, that many of these teams have members who've been funded by investments by the National Science Foundation, and that their work and today's expo has really been motivated by this exciting confluence of technology, of networking, and the opportunity to really push the needle forward and make these kinds of investments to realize the smart cities of tomorrow. To realize these smart cities and regions of tomorrow, we really do need the collective efforts of a lot of different communities. It's going to involve active leadership and involvement at government at many levels. And honestly, it's really amazing to see mayors involved here and to see folks from the federal and state governments. I mean, think we've got the whole spectrum of folks from leadership in the political arena here, and it's going to require bringing together experts from many sectors and disciplines. So I challenge you, when you're out talking to people, when you're looking at the demos, think of the range of expertise and backgrounds that are being brought together to address this global cities team challenge. And so, as I think about the impact of the kind of work that you're going to see here today, I'm reminded of what's called the network effect, or for those of you who are networking geeks, what's called Metcalfe's law, right? And the way to think about this is, think about, well, maybe not the number of people who own telephones, but the number, well, telephones and networks. Number of people who have internet connections, right? And as more and more people have internet connections, become connected, the more valuable that network is to all of the users. And if we apply that network principle in the areas, in the sectors of healthcare, energy, transportation, public safety, and more, we'll see that these areas, the more we touch, the greater our overall impact. And I guess I want to say, I'll put on my computer science geek hat for just one last second and say that this increase in utility, as we start bringing together these sectors, it's not like you're adding them together. It's really exponential when you start bringing together all those sectors that Sokwoo had up there earlier in terms of all of the possible interactions. So let me again thank all of you and applaud the commitment and accomplishments of everybody here for helping to advance the state of the art in computing, communications, control, and applications areas in smart cities. I very much look forward to hearing the presentations here, wandering through the demos there, and talking to people. And again, as you do that, as we all do that, think about the really amazing array of backgrounds and talents that are being brought together here in this challenge to realize the Global City Teams Challenge and the advances of tomorrow. So with that, again, welcome and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim, for a very inspiring speech. Now, next speaker is Peter Molengraaf, which is CEO of Alliander. For those who are not familiar with Alliander, it's one of the major utility companies in the Netherlands, and this company played a major role in establishing partnership with the Netherlands and all the teams that you see today. So please welcome Mr. Peter Molengraaf.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to add more advertisement or promotion for what you're going to see later. But before I give my short message to you, I'd like to thank the Dutch Embassy for their continued efforts in getting this global team challenge underway. I'd like to thank the National Building Museum for their hospitality today. It's a great building. And also actually can congratulate all of you for being here today and actually making this a thriving success. I'm not only speaking today as CEO of Alliander, the largest distribution grid company, but I'm also for the last few years a member of the high-level group on smart cities and communities of the European Commission. And what I would like to share with you is what we discussed also 10 days ago in Berlin. It's actually amazing to see, and maybe more amazing if you see what's behind us today, how it's possible that so much technology, so much opportunity to improve quality of life in our cities is actually not getting off the ground. It's there, it's available, we could use it, but it's not happening. And we believe that the key to accelerating smart city solutions in terms of scale and replicability is making them open. We need standards and open platforms with built-in flexibility to create sustainable markets and thriving ecosystems in our communities. I think that is my main message, and I think that is the key that we need to work on together to actually make sure we can use all this technology and really start to improve quality of life and do something at the many issues that we have in our cities, but also with the many opportunities that are in our cities. Let me give you two examples of what we've been working on over the last few years. The first one is on immobility charging. A few years ago, when the Dutch government started to incentivize people driving electric, you saw that many of the traditional companies were actually putting charging points, actually locking in customers. So if there was a point, you had to use their card, their energy, no choice, no innovation, no access for startups, for new companies in this system. And since then, we've been working really hard with some of these companies, and sometimes a little bit also against them, I must say, but we've been really working very hard to get open standards on each charge pole, to get open standards on the back offices, open standards on charging and charging to and from the cars. And what you see now, a few years later, is that not only do we have quite an extensive charging network for electric vehicles in the Netherlands, but also we have lots of small companies that can actually start to contribute with their ideas, with their innovation to these markets. And you see startups actually starting delivering apps that are making life of electric mobile drivers much more easy. If you want to join, there's the Open Charging Alliance, and you can see all the standards we actually in practice developed working with these companies. The second example I'll give you is in the field of electricity, a bit closer to our home as a distribution grid operator. Actually, if you see what will happen with renewables coming, we need much more flexibility in the energy system. And we've been working with companies, with many technology institutions, with ICT companies, actually develop new standards for a complete new market model for electricity, where you can actually sell electricity yourself, but you can also, when you produce it, you can sell it to your neighbor. A complete innovation from the model that we have been used, which has been successfully exploited, I think, because we have a very reliable electricity system. But when we look ahead into the next century, we need a different model where actually you get control, you can charge your car, you can sell your electricity, you can trade in it, and we need all this flexibility also to incorporate renewables into our energy system. So these these are examples not so much of what we have done, but where we have developed new standards and open source market models that can enable these solutions to grow, but also to be scalable and actually give access to a lot of the talent and the energy that is around in startups, in new entrepreneurs, actually wanting to improve the quality of life in our cities. So that's actually my main message for today. I hope you will really, really enjoy this day and start computing it and help us actually open up this market for the quality of life in our city and our citizens. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's it for the morning session. Now we're going to start really exciting things starting now. We have two stages. One is a West Coast stage here right now, and there's another stage on the other side. This stage, we're going to start emergency response session, and the other stage is going to start education projects. So feel free to move to the other stage if you are more interested in education than disaster, or you can stay here if you are more interested in emergency situation projects. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day. I'll bring up the MCs. Thank you.